If there's no due process and there's no safety, then there's no safety for anybody. They ain't going to stop here.
United Farm Workers are rallying together tonight, demanding the release of local migrant farm workers who they say were detained by ICE. Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us at 11. I'm Fevin Cassahoon. Now, community members are sharing this video on social media. The union says federal agents stopped a bus full of workers from the Lynette and Sons farm in Orleans County and took more than a dozen people into custody. Now, earlier this evening, union workers gathered outside the federal detention facility in Batavia, calling on elected officials and community leaders to ensure that these workers are given due process. And I'm sharing their voices with you tonight.
We're here today because what's going on in this country is wrong. It is just flat out wrong.
Down with deportation!
Down with deportation!
Demonstrators from across western New York found themselves outside of the federal detention facility in Batavia, calling for the release of farm workers who have reportedly been detained by ICE. The United Farm Workers of America says between 12 to 15 of Lynette and Sons Farms Inc. workers are in custody. When asked about the legal status of those workers, here's what the UFW had to say.
We don't interrogate workers about their status, so I can't speak to that. But regardless of their status, we don't believe they should have been targeted for this raid.
Lynette and Sons is a vegetable farm, and many of these workers have been with the farm for about 5 years.
Completely inconsistent with what the DHS process has been in the past to, focus on people that have immediate criminal records. These workers mind their business, they go home, they work, they just want to support their families.
And these demonstrators are fighting for the release of those workers.
If there's no due process and there's no safety, then there's no safety for anybody. They ain't going to stop here.
Various humanitarian organizations made up the dozens of people picketing outside of the detention facility, demanding the release of these farm workers.
People are recognizing that all of the fear-mongering being done against, women and children and families and people that are picking our vegetables and making our farms run, they are not a threat to us.
Hoping to put pressure on government officials and to raise awareness.
Honestly, so sad to see their families being torn apart. They're putting them in these prison cells as if they're criminals when they're just here to support their families and provide so much to our society, our community.
The union says it has had some communication with the detained workers. It is in the process of making sure these workers have legal representation. In the meantime, we have reached out to ICE and have yet to hear back. This comes as the Trump administration says that it will pay undocumented migrants who leave the United States and return to their home countries. The department says this offer could incentivize people to leave the country voluntarily and decrease the number of migrants forcibly removed. Self-deportation includes a free one-way departure ticket and $1,000 to people who verify that they have returned to their home country. DHS says that the self-deportation may preserve the option for the migrant to re-enter the U.S. legally in the future.